Hi, and welcome to today's lesson. Today we're going to be learning how to solve equations. I'd like to talk about two different types of equations that we're going to solve, basically one-step and two-step equations. Now, the more advanced algebra that you work that you get into, you'll have some that are multiple steps. But if you learn the basic directions of how to solve them, you'll be just fine. So we're going to start off with something called a one-step equation, because basically it just takes one step and then you will have the equation solved. So let's look at this first problem. X plus 2 equals 14. Now your goal is to get that x to be completely by itself. And that means you want nothing else on this side of the equation. You only want the x to be there. So in order to do that, since we have plus 2, the way we could get that to be just an x is if I were to subtract the 2 away from there. Now remember, this equation sign here, this equal sign, means that it's like a scale. Both sides of it have to be completely balanced. So if I take 2 away from this side, I must take 2 away from this side of the equation. Now 2 minus 2 goes away, so we're left with x equals, bring down that equal sign, straight down, 14 minus 2 gives you 12. Now you should always take time to go back and check. 12 plus 2, does that give me 14? Yes, it does. So 14 equals 14. So yes, I know that this indeed is the correct answer. So now since it was x plus 2, we always do the opposite. That's why I knew to subtract it away, because I want that side to go to 0. I want the only thing to be left is just the variable. All right, let's look at equation number 2. X minus 8 equals negative 13. So since this was a minus 8, I want to add the 8, because if you add the inverse or the opposite of it, that's what will make that go to 0. And again, remembering that you have what you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other side of the equation. You have to be fair. You have to be consistent in your work. So when I do that, negative 13 plus 8 gives me a negative 5. So if you want to take the time to check it, you'd have negative 5 minus 8. That's negative 5 plus negative 8. And that gives me negative 13, which is what we were wanting. So we know that x equals negative 5 is really the correct answer. Now hopefully you've already had some basic equations, so this was just a little review for you. Let's go ahead and spend some time. Well, let's do a couple more, I guess, one-step equations first. Because those were adding and subtracting. I almost forgot about these that are multiplying and dividing. They're also can be solved in just one step. So if we're multiplying 6 times x, and that equals 42, the opposite of that would be to divide. So again, if you divide by something on one side, you have to do that on the other side. You have to be consistent. So 6 divided by 6, that turns into just 1x. 42 divided by 6 gives me 7. So x equals 7. And again, you can check it. 6 times 7, that does give you 42. All right, here we're 8x. So to get that x completely by itself, I want to divide by 8. Those cancel. And I must divide this side by 8. Negative 88 divided by 8 gives me negative 11. Check it. 8 times negative 11. Does that? That gives me negative 88. So yes, that does equal on both sides of the equations. So this x equals negative 11 is the correct answer. So sometimes the one steps you're either adding or subtracting, or you're multiplying and dividing. So again, you're always going to do the opposite. If it's an addition problem, you're going to subtract. If it's a multiplication problem, you're going to divide. And that'll help get that variable to be completely by itself. All right, now let's go into the two-step equations. This is where it gets a little more fun because it takes a few more steps. And so if you love math like I do, you consider it to be fun. So the first thing you want to do is you always want to do the adding or the subtracting first. Okay, take care of that before you divide. So I'm going to subtract my 3. It's gone on this side, so I'm left with 5x equals 15. Now, I know I need to still get this x by itself, that variable by itself. So to do that, I'm going to divide by 5. And so I'm left with x equals 3. Now you can still check it the same way. It just takes a little longer. 5 times 3 plus 3. So 5 times 3 is 15 plus my 3, I get 18. Is that what I was supposed to get? 18, 18? Yes, it is. All right. Let's go to the next problem. 8x minus 2 equals 30. So let's add our 2. Remember, we always do the opposite. Since it was a subtraction, you're going to add it, and that'll make that go to 0. And I like to mark it through like that, just to make sure that kind of shows that it's gone. 30 plus the 2 gives me 32. Now I'm multiplying 8 times x, so I'm actually going to divide by 8. If I divide by 8 on one side, I have to divide by 8 on the other. So here I'm left with just that x, comes down, just that x, equals 32 divided by 8 gives me a 4. So we could have 8 times 4 minus 2. Does that equal 30? So 32 minus 2. Yes, 30 does equal 30. So I know that I got the problem correct. So on a test or a quiz, there's really no reason for you not to know what you got on it before you the teacher even grades it. You can plug in your answers. Plug this answer, you get back into the original problem, and you'll know whether or not it worked or not. And if it doesn't work, then that means that you made a careless mistake somewhere in your problem, and so you just need to spend some time going back over it and checking your work to make sure that you know exactly how to solve the problem and that you catch those careless mistakes that we all make sometimes. Okay, the other thing that I'd like to talk about today is how to write an algebraic expression. Sometimes they're given to you in words and you need to come up with that on your own. Make it look like a real math problem. So we're going to do a few of these and then some equation ones. So the expression is 3 more than 2 times a number. Well, 3 more than means I'm going to be adding. If I have more than you, I would add mine to make it equal to yours. So 2 times a number, so 2 times the number. I don't know what the number is, so I'm going to let y be my number. But it's 3 more than this, so I'm going to add 3. 3 more than 2 times the number. And that's all you would need to do to write that expression. Alright, the next one has the word product. Product means multiplication. So the multiplication of 4 less than a number. So here's my number, 4 less than that. But it's supposed to be a product of that and the number 10. So I'm going to have to put that in parentheses because it's this whole number times the 10. That was a little tricky knowing that you have to put that in parentheses, but this is considered to be that number, n minus 4, and then multiply that by the 10. All right, just another page here. Now this time I'm going to write one that's actually an algebraic equation. Now the difference between the expression and the equation actually has an equal sign in it. You should be able to see the word equate, and equate is similar to the word equal. Okay, so the sum of a number, so I don't know my number, but I know sum means to add. The sum of a number and 8, so n plus 8. Now this is really important. Is always means equals. So whenever you have the word is, that's where you're going to put your equal sign. The sum of a number and 8, so n plus 8, equals negative 12. Negative 12. N plus 8 equals negative 12. Now, if you had to solve this, the directions said to solve it, you now know how to do that from our previous examples. But a lot of times you might just have to write the equation out. Being able to translate something from words into the math problem. So I hope that helps you today. Just a quick review of how to solve the basic equations and then being able to write them if you're given them in words. If you need more help, just send an email to stemtutorplace@gmail.com. I also have a lot of other videos on other math topics and lessons available, so make sure you subscribe to Tutor Place. I hope you have a great day, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.